late. When we were in Israel and we arrived and we were standing up on that hill and stared up, it's on the video, right? We're standing. In fact, if you saw in the video, briefly, you see a white guy that looks awfully American, and he's got a baseball cap, beard. He's not an Israeli, he's an American. One of the other UG Solutions workers brought his wife, had her come vacation, see it for herself. So, when we're standing on that mound, and I'm kind of standing around looking, I see some of my future coworkers, and I noticed that a lot of them, so many of them, enough to be like, oh, it's not a coincidence, have a tattoo. And this tattoo is a large Crusader cross with infidel emblazoned over it, and 1059 at the bottom rocker scroll. I think Sons of Anarchy, right? Show bikers. Well, 1059, the year of the First Crusade, when Pope Urban directed the Crusaders to go into the Holy Land and eradicate the earth of the Muslims. The vile scum. This organization prides itself on that. So I was like, what's with the tattoos? I missed the tattoo station. Where do we all stop and get tattoos? What's going on? No, man, what chapter are you in? A book? I don't know what chapter. What do you mean? No, the infidels. Like, I'm not one. How'd you get this job? How did you get this job? So, I had never heard of them before. So I looked them up. And as I'm Googling on my phone, I'm like, hold on. I was like, infidels is like a name somebody gave you, or you choose that name? I'm like, no, man, we're infidels. I'm like, but you wear a Crusader cross. Yeah. I'm confused. I'm not putting two and two together. Infidels, man. I'm like, yeah, you're an infidel, you're not a Christian. No, man, infidels, what the Muslims call us. I'm like, why do they call you that? But okay, you do you. So as I look it up, I see that the Infidels Motorcycle Club, they have a charter like any other club. To be a member of it, you have to be a veteran of the United States military in some capacity. And you have to own an American motorcycle. And you cannot have legal arrest authority. Man, that's a high bar, isn't it? So I was like, what? But their charter further dictates that they stand for fighting global jihad and the elimination of all Muslims from the earth. This is who is handpicked by Safe Reach Solutions to go into Gaza to feed a starving population, armed to the teeth with machine guns, pistols, shotguns, stun grenades, tear gas, riot batons. Really? I mean, that's like having the KKK do security at the Martin Luther King parade. Absurd. Absurd. That's the organization. It blew me away. So, I actually didn't whistleblow on them, they did it to themselves. It's so obvious because they started doing things like, they took a picture. There's a famous picture out there on BBC where on site number 1, the Infidels Motorcycle Club all got together, get the boys together, and they took a picture. And it says, "Make Gaza great again." Trumpalago. They took this picture, all of them standing there, giving the middle finger. That's what they did, it's mature. In this photo, they blasted it all over their social media. Well, a reporter found it. It's like, what's this? Looks at their webpage. Oh, the guy in charge, Johnny Mulford. Well, he's there. He's in the picture. So they contacted him and they said, "Hey, Johnny, want to ask you some questions about the involvement of the Infidels Motorcycle Club in the distribution of aid. Do you got some time for an email or a phone call?" Well, this individual, Johnny Mulford, takes that email and forwards it to his entire gang and says, "If this guy contacts you, don't talk to him." And when he did it, he left the reporter on the CC line. I'm not joking. This is in the article from the BBC. I wish I were joking. No, I don't wish it. It's funny. So I didn't blow the whistle on them. And that's a forced error. They did that to themselves. It's funny. But yeah, I just can't believe, one, there's an organization that stands for that, number one. Number two, that the United States government would subsidize and pay them to do that. Here's what a contractor, I'll give you a day in the life. Because I was there. We didn't stay in Gaza on an encampment. We didn't even stay in barracks along the Israeli border. We all stayed in $300 a night luxury hotels. The Hilton, the West, and the Leonardo, European fancy hotel line. This is the life. Either you're on a 12-hour day or a 12-hour night and you flip-flop. Wake up, go to breakfast, get on the bus, charter bus, like a charter bus on a tour. TVs, comfy seats, 20 to a bus for 100 people. You get on your bus and they take you down to Kerem Shalom, get off the bus, get your rifle, get your body armor, jump into your armored truck, go link up with the truck for food, go drop it off, come back, drop off your weapon, get on the bus, go home, and by that night you're sitting on the beach, chilling, while people die. And you're doing it with your hotel paid for, and all your meals paid for, and you're making $1,800 a day. A day. 1,800 US dollars per day. Who's paying for that? We are. Why? Because when the GHF bid off this contract, it was far more than they could handle. So they come back to the US government with an ultimatum. Either this fails or you gotta give us money. So the US State Department, because they had recently just cut US aid. Remember that? US aid went away? Your organization under the US State Department, USAID? Get out of here. So they took that money and gave it as a grant to GHF. The United States government subsidized a private industry under a contract to a foreign government. They were contracted by the US and then gave them that grant to then pay us. Disgusting. So yeah, day in the life of a contractor. Well, people starve. And Rasha brought up a great point in terms of starvation or being starved. Just outside the gate, Rafah, Kerem Shalom, Erez, Nahalaz, thousands of trucks, not hundreds, so many trucks you can't even see the end, full of food. Full tanks of gas, drivers sitting in the cab. They just live there in their trucks, waiting for the word. Saw them every day. Hey, come on, every day, sitting there. And if you would just start up one of those trucks and drive it 20 feet, you'd be in Gaza. Sitting there. When they say it's so hard to get in and out of Gaza, I went in and out every day. Easier than I go into a Walmart every day. In fact, one night, we had a local Palestinian workforce that had been vetted to work on our sites with us. When they were brought to the site, the second night of operations, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation didn't factor in feeding them. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation couldn't even feed its own employees, much less Gaza. So I was at the site, because as the operations director, I had to go to the sites back and forth every day assessing what we needed. And these guys were like, hey, we don't have any food. Like, I don't want to complain, but we're hungry. It's like, yeah, you need food. Y'all are going to laugh at this and you won't believe me, but it's true. There's a documentary on it from France 24. The only place open, you know, in Israel they celebrate Friday to Saturday they celebrate. Yeah, but they got a name. Shabbat, right? Shabbat, I should know that. Shabbat. So, nothing was open. But in Beersheba, 45 minutes away, a Domino's Pizza was open. So I called Domino's Pizza and I ordered 27 pizzas. And Volt, which is their version of DoorDash, delivered that into Gaza. Pizza delivery. Domino's pizza delivery in 30 minutes or less into Gaza to feed the Palestinian local workforce, while a population starves to death. That's things that the world doesn't see. And at the time when we did that, I was like, oh yeah, we fed these guys, isn't that? And it dawned on me as I drove out of Gaza, and you see bags of pilfered flour lying on the road because the trucks were stopped by the IDF and ransacked looking for paraphernalia. Food could have fed a family. And as you're driving out, and in the ruins of Rafah, you can hear people crying because they're trapped under the rubble, dying. They'll never be recovered because there's no means to recover. And you can hear them. And every day you drive by, that voice gets softer until it's gone. Person's dead. Or you see feral dogs eating human carcasses. A dog running down the road with the arm of a child in its mouth. Well, a fucking pizza delivery delivers food. And thousands of tons of food sit on trucks just outside the gate. And when you hear Ambassador Huckabee or Special Envoy Steve Witkoff say, there's no starvation in Gaza. Oh, it's Hamas. It's not. It's us. It's the Israelis. It's us. There's going to be a lot to answer for. The day that I said would come, when I did interviews all the way back in late June, I had to sneak my way out of Gaza, out of Israel, because of the information that I had, and they knew that I had it. Because a day will come. A day will come when the world is going to see this, and it's going to bring us to our knees. We will be ashamed of ourselves as a world. What is happening in Gaza, what is happening in the West Bank, is a stain on humanity. It is a stain that is never going to be washed away.
Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about, before I move on to Amir, can you tell us a little bit about the process of distribution, quote unquote, how that worked? When we talked several times before, you used the word bait or bait and trap. Can you talk a little bit about why that was the case?
So delivery and distribution, distribution is a misnomer. We did not distribute. We drove in with the trucks. We pull them all in like a truck corral, like a rodeo. They'd line up. Forklifts would come up and just push the pallets off the trucks into big piles. And we pulled the trucks off, and then the IDF would call on the radio and say, hey, are you ready? Yep. They'd move the Markava tanks back from the assembly line, usually about 800 meters away. And the crowd would come in. The Hunger Games. Only the strong survive, and only the fittest get food. Every day. One of our distributions on site number 1 on the 2nd of June, over 10,000 people that day. The food was gone in 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Gone. So the most vulnerable of whom which we are obligated to protect and more. Children, women, the elderly, the disabled. Do you think they get any food? No. They got none. And we did nothing about it. So there was not distribution. It was bait. I've used the term once, and I don't know if I heard it from him and he used it, or if he heard it from me and he used it. Norm, what's Norm's last name?
Finkelstein.
Yeah, he and I did a brief talk together. But We call it the mousetrap. Remember that old game, Mousetrap, where if you get there and the little thing comes down, traps you? Y'all probably don't know about that. We do. We're the cheese. We're putting the cheese in the mousetrap to trap people. So what do you do if you're starving to death, knowing that if you go there, you might die? What do you do? What do you do? It's barbaric. But yeah, there was no distribution. It was come and get it. And often, in the coming and get it, 50-50 chance you'd survive.
Anthony, can you tell us about
So the picture of this young man, his name is Amir. His nickname or his name, that was the name that you see the young boy behind him in the Nevada State, the fabulous Nevada State shirt. Ironic. When this little boy came up, he didn't really, he could speak, but I mean, he was very young. So he said, "Oh, this is Amir." So that's what I call him. There is not a day that goes by that I do not see this boy's face. That's my hand. This was on site number 3 that I had previously described. It was a hellhole. He was one of those that got to the site late because there wasn't any. You can't keep up with the masses when you're. And I don't know, is the other picture in there that shows his feet? Yeah, look at that. He's got no shoes. That's not staged. That's not Hamas. That's not the Gaza Health Ministry propaganda that they claim. I took that picture. I'm standing there, and he has no shoes. He didn't just take them off before he walked in. Look at his feet. And as he gets this food, you see in his hands, there's no box. He doesn't get a meal. He doesn't get a box. He picked up scraps of food from the ground. What is he going to do with that? His father, killed in an airstrike. He was from Khan Yunis, further north, just south of the Netzarim corridor, central Gaza. Father killed in an airstrike. And when they evacuated his family and others from the central down to the south, he was separated from his mother. She ended up in the Mawasi encampment, which is on the coast. He ended up in the Khan Yunis encampment further south central. They didn't care what family dynamic was. You go there, you go there. Cattle. That's what they called them. So on the 28th of May, this young boy, he shows up, and he has no one with him because he came to the site because everybody from the encampment that day, they were allowed to go to the site. He's an 8-year-old boy. Just follow everybody else, I guess. He's no parents. And as he's over there, where you see the other boy, look at the boy in the yellow. That young boy sent there to get food for his family. And Amir, when he came up, he was from a distance, probably to that door. And as he walks up, he's holding his hand out. And I thought to myself, like, man, we don't have any food to give him. Anything to give him. What are we gonna do? Can't adopt him. I can't take him away from here. What are we gonna do? And he came up and he held out his hand and he kisses the hand and then brings it to his forehead. And in Arabic culture, that's very reverent. It's very respectful. And he says, "Thank you. I'm so hungry. Thank you." As he leaves the site, what became the normal procedure was that the UG Solutions adopted the methods of the IDF. Stun grenades, tear gas, shooting. The majority of those that had come to this site had already left. It was kind of like because I remember told you the entrance and the exit were one and the same. So it was like this mass crowding. So children and women would stay afterwards to pick up the scraps from the ground that were left, what they could get. we would usually try to let them stay a little bit longer before the IDF told us that they had to leave. So as they're starting to leave, the main crowd had already left. From this particular site, site number 3, another reason it was so dangerous is because site number 3, the entrance exit, connected within 500 meters directly to the Marag corridor. The Marag corridor is a militarized corridor. It's a combat zone. Outside of site number 3 was stationed a tank platoon. Merkava tanks, the most advanced tank in the world. Deadly. It's got one purpose: kill. In the location that the tank was stationed, the tank has what it has on it, it's got the big gun, boom, big round, but it also has a machine gun, 7.62 millimeter machine gun, that the guy in the tank can shoot from. They would pull this tank up and fire the machine gun to keep the crowd going west. I thought, in seeing that, I was like, a sign might work. And put a sign out there that says, go left. Nope, not in the budget. Oh, okay. IDF don't have to worry about how much bullets they use. They don't pay for it. We do. It's American ammo. Green tip for anybody who's been in the Army. M888, green tip ammo. We give it to them. So that tank that's there is firing at the crowd. In the BBC, in the film we showed, in the beginning when Jeremy Bowen says this might look like a combat zone, but it's a distribution site, that's that intersection. That is the intersection of the exit of Site 3 in the Marag corridor. That's what happens. So as this crowd was leaving, children, women, the elderly, and they're getting hit with stun grenades and tear gas, and they're panicking and they're running. This little boy drops the food that he has. And this group, the last group of about 15 to 20 Palestinians, as they're running, they run into this hail of gunfire. Namir was killed, dead, and left there, buried. Every distribution that we did, whether it was site 1, 2, 3, or 4, after distribution, when we pull the trucks out, and we go back to refit the trucks, fill up with gas, get more food, the IDF would come out with their bulldozers. Who do you think provides those bulldozers? Caterpillar. Americans. We give them a deal on them. We give them at half price because they're our greatest ally. Moral Army. They get the discount. And they come out with their D9 bulldozers and they level the entire area. Why? Because when you have 10 to 15,000 people running through sand dunes, it gets churned up. So they come out to flatten it and bury the evidence. And did it every day. Amir is not the only one. This is one incident. One of thousands. We have seen the overwhelming amount of evidence at this point. The United Nations, the United States, the United Kingdom, intelligence agencies that are pretty darn good, but also the IDF. The IDF have come out and said, oh, y'all are gonna be going into Gaza? Remember when we were saying like the death toll's like around 64,000? Remember we were saying that? Yeah, that's what you said. It's like more like 450. Like 64,000? 450? No, it's gonna be like more 450,000. They said that, the Israelis said that, not me, not Tony, that's not propaganda. They said that, and it's true. So, when this little boy was walking away, I looked at him and asked myself, what is he gonna do? In my head, I thought, that boy is not gonna survive this war. It's not a war, it's an annihilation. This little boy is not going to survive. Can you imagine a child in the United States, 8 years old, with no shoes, dying without water and food, with no parents to take care of him? What do you think is gonna happen? Sending him off to die. And in that moment, I would say that I'm spiritual, I'm religious, grew up in a very religious household. wouldn't say that God talks to me, no. But as this young boy was walking away, this voice, as clear as I'm talking to you now, said, don't forget. Don't forget this. And I can't forget it. I see this face every day. I don't even need to turn around and look at it. His brown eyes, he looks like my son. For the rest of my life, I will never not see his face. Because we as a nation have violated our values, and we have sold ourselves to an apartheid government that only seeks to kill.
I know, before I move on to the next story, I know this is incredibly difficult to hear. And I know there are people sitting in this room who have family in Gaza. And I know there are people sitting in this room who've lost family in Gaza and the West Bank. We can't forget about the West Bank. If we turn away from hearing someone like Anthony come out and speak, if it's because it's too painful, we want to shut down our ears and our brain because it's too difficult to comprehend, because we feel absolutely helpless. We are doing no justice to the victims of this genocide. We have to give Anthony and his first-hand account the platform, because it is crucial to hear what he's saying, no matter how incredibly difficult it is to hear. So this is why, and I know some of you, let's be honest, I know some of you had reservations about bringing Anthony here. And we talked about it, and I know Anthony completely understands that. We all understand that. But when you're sitting here now, listening to what he's saying, I hope you understand why we pushed for this. As difficult, there's so much emotion, and I'm Palestinian. I don't know if many of you caught that by, if you could see the tobe I was wearing in the picture. My family's from 1948 Nakba, okay? I have no family in Gaza or the West Bank anymore. We're in the diaspora. I have very close friends in Gaza, and it's difficult enough with that. So I can't imagine what it must feel like for the people who have actual family members there. But we do them no justice by sitting here and not listening to this. So I know it's in the middle of a discussion, but I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to have Anthony come and actually say exactly what he saw. Can we have the next question? Anthony, can you tell us about Besma?
What I want to further add also is that when I was in Gaza, at no time did I ever perceive a threat from the population. The biggest threat actually was the IDF. We almost got shot by them many times. Sometimes we'd almost get hit by their tanks. But you know, while I was in Gaza, I never even loaded my weapon because there wasn't a need for it. My position going in was, when they gave us all of these stun grenades and tear gas and everything else, they didn't train us. Here you go. It's like, are we gonna get some training? I don't know how to use this thing. It's easy. In fact, it's easy. One of those stun grenades that exploded went off next to me, used inappropriately because the guy didn't know how to use it, and it just sliced my arm. I had to get 17 stitches in my arm. It was not pretty. But yeah, I never saw a threat, so I never saw a need. I'm by nature not a violent person or someone that feels that I need to inflict pain on others to gratify myself. So the entire time that I was in Gaza there, and I never fired a shot. I never used a non-lethal. I got a lot of hugs, handshakes, kisses from Palestinians that were just thankful. So, I observed a lot. And now I feel it's important that people know and that there's accountability. This young girl, her name is Basma. I pray every night that she is alive and that she survives. Just a powerful human being. This was at distribution site number 4. Distribution site number 4 is not necessarily in the north, it's in the central part of Gaza at the Netzarim corridor. And similar to as I described with the rush onto the sites and no food left, and by the time she got to the site, there wasn't any food. It was gone. And she comes in and she's looking, she has her purple backpack. She went on behalf of her family. And as she walks in, she's looking around, where's the food? And I'm standing there with 2 other contractors, we're kind of forward in the line. And we're armed, we got weapons and big people, She comes right up to us without hesitation. Where's the food? It's gone. It's all gone. She says, well, I came here for food and I'm not leaving it until I get it. She said, my family needs food. You said there was going to be food. Where's the food? There's none left. Some of the contractors that I had befriended that I felt were decent human beings, not part of the Infidels Motorcycle Club. In fact, they resigned also. We had gone and bought these cookies. You can see that package. Because as I said, the people that came to the sites, they weren't getting any food that they could eat. So by the time someone walks 8 to 10 kilometers and there's no water and they get to a site and you're giving them a box of meals that when you break it down is 200 calories per meal, 200 calories in a meal. If you got 3 of those a day, you're only eating half a Snickers bar. It's not survival. It's slow death. So we had bought these because especially children, you want to give them something where they have some like sugar, carbohydrate, something they can eat. So we got this big box, and in that package of cookies, there's little smaller packets. And I reached down and I handed her one. I said, we have this. And she didn't put it in her backpack and run away. She stood there. She puts her backpack down on the ground, she opens it up, and she starts handing out packages of cookies to the other kids and to the other people. And other people came up and she was handing them out. And they're all gone. She sees the box there, so she turns around without even breaking stride. She's like, give me another one. Starts to give me another one. And I was, we're getting low here. And I'm like, well, we don't have much left. You can take them all. She's like, if you're not going to feed my people, then I will. All right. And it comes down to we have the last package, and I give it to her. See it in the previous picture. I give it to her.
You want me to go back?
I mean, yeah, you see it. You saw it in her hand. I give her, that's the last package. And this is her in the next picture when she's about to leave. And as per procedure, the IDF radio would say, get them off the site. So we say to her, hey, it's you have to leave, go home. It's dangerous. And before she leaves, she stops because she's putting the cookies into her little purple backpack. And she pulls out a photo, old school photo. And in this photo, you see it, and it's beautiful. Homes, trees, playground, She was like, because we're like, hey, you need to go home. And she stops and she was like, this is my home. Right here. My home was right here where you built this site. Because when we built these distribution sites, they just leveled everything that was there and put up urns and said, here you go. She's like, this was my home. Right here. That was my school that's gone. Our mosque that's gone. The hospital that I was born in, gone. My life is gone. I live here. This is my home. I said, I'm sorry. I don't know what else I can tell you, but it's dangerous. They're going to close the corridor. You have to go home. And as she cinches up her backpack, she looks at me with that face. The other one. There's a smile there, but that's determination. And she says to me, and she looks me right in the eyes, And she says, you go home. So I did. What's important about these two stories that I share with Amir and Basma, the most important thing to take away from that is humanity. These are human beings. Human beings. Terrorists, Hamas, they all hate us, kill them all. These are human beings. And it's easy for Netanyahu and Smotrich and Ben Gvir and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Mike Huckabee to look away because they haven't seen it. And it's easy to ignore it. These are human beings, and they're dying because they are being starved to death, and they are being bombed. Right now, today, Gaza's not that big. 26 kilometers by 4, in the south by 6. It's very small, smaller than Philadelphia. A whole enclave. 55 million tons of rubble. 55 million tons. It will take, if we started today, right now, it would take until 2050 to even begin rebuilding. So when you hear about this 20-point peace and prosperity plan, that includes removing all Palestinians from Gaza to rebuild. Where are they going to go? To the West Bank? Last week, the Knesset just voted to annex the entire West Bank. Well, our Vice President and our Secretary of State were there. Israel laughs at us. With our Secretary of State and our Vice President there. When they passed that vote in the Knesset, J.D. Vance and Little Marco were sitting there in the room. And then you know what Israel said? Oh, it's only symbolic. As bulldozers go into the West Bank. That's not symbolic. What I think is so important for Americans and for the world to understand, do not look away. Do not pretend that this is somebody else's problem. Do not think that this is going to resolve itself. And do not think that when the final solution is enacted, that's what this is. When we put our yellow ribbons on doors and we say never again, and when our government finally reopens and the Senate is deciding on where we're going to build the cenotaph to commemorate the Palestinians, do not say you didn't know. And one day, not years, one day, very soon, the world is going to say that this was always wrong.
Because we're running out of time, we're
Go
actually
for it.
going to do